grown men.
We're grown men. We know how to count to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
7.
What is up, everyone? Jammers in the Rough is live. I am slowly catching my breath because last weekend was an absolute scorcher of a tournament, and I'm still recovering from it mentally. I didn't play it, obviously, because I was here in Portland, didn't get in this year. There was a lot of people asking, so I just wanted to clarify that up. But it was an amazing tournament. As always, we have our amazing co-hosts here with us. We have Josh, the Jammers. What?
I'm Jammers
I
IT. I
oh
take care of it.
Jammers IT. Sorry, I was like, because there's the whole disc the new Innova So I was like, oh, the Jammers Um, sorry, Winter's here, and we have, as always, the absolute worst, Cody Waldron. I am a little frazzled today, and I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't prepared to talk to you all. Let me fix this because the glare. Nope, that made it worse. Anyways, but let's just jump into it. Vegas. What are you guys' thoughts on it? Your
I mean,
initial gut reactions, male, female?
as far as MPO goes, my gut reaction is like it's a story of the sad, sad world of AB. Every single time he's doing well, final rounds, we've all seen it. You know how many times of AB just crashing hard? I think a lot of it had to do with some head stuff, but it's just sad. I want that boy to like get a solid win because he's one of the best we have. He can bomb. He's good at the trees, but sometimes that final round pressure gets him, and it's what you saw in Vegas, and it sucked to see.
No, it was definitely a breakout tournament for Barella, though. Like to be on that
Hmm.
stage and show that he belongs with a new bag. I think that's more of the important factor because I think in one of his posts he made, he was talking about how like he was still learning how to trust some of his discs and some of that crazy wind, but with how crazy that weather, he was like really stepping up and showing it in a big way because it wasn't just like one thing that was off for him. Like usually it's like, oh, Barella's putting needs to be fixed if he wants to compete. Like he was hitting some really big putts. He was playing extremely disciplined. Um, a lot of unfortunate things didn't go his way. Um, but yeah, also like the fact that he's there. I do. Um, there was a comparison I was making about Barella early this week because we start to see like patterns throughout history of like, oh, if we have a Simon Lizotte, there might be a showman that comes along to kind of replace him, right? You had Ken Climo, the GOAT, to Paul Macbeth, the new GOAT, and then there'll be somebody to fill that slot in time. And you see it throughout sports. And with Barilla, I feel like with him being so young, I remember Drew Gibson when he was about that age. Or like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know how old these kids really are, but like Drew Gibson, where there's a long time of people waiting and wanting Drew Gibson to explode and make that name for himself, and they kept like every year like, oh, this could be Drew Gibson's year. Oh, this could be Drew Gibson's year, and he won the Portland Open, and then 4 years later he won Vegas last year or 3 years, whatever it was. Um, and so for me, my big fear with Barella is not only does he have a great relationship with Drew Gibson, but is he going to replace that Drew Gibson where everyone's just waiting for him to have that breakout year and he's so close time and time again, and then Waco comes and he just drops all the way back down, or so it's like I'm really hoping he breaks some of that away and carves a name for himself without just being, because right now he's compared to a lot of people, right? His glasses, so people are like, oh, you got to give Barsby back his shades. His logo looks a little bit like Barsby's, and now he's hanging out with Drew Gibson and having similar putting woes as Drew Gibson while being known as an absolute crusher. Also being, so it's like, for me, it's just like, oh man, like I really hope he figures it out because I think he's definitely due for it. But I said that for the last like 3 years with Drew Gibson, and he finally at least bailed me out in Vegas last year. But since then, I'm still waiting.
I don't know about that. Well, what do you get? Fourth? I think I got fourth. Yeah, he tied for fourth. So that's
Yeah,
still a
but
solid
like,
finish.
solid finish. I'm not saying that he hasn't been successful because Drew Gibson has been extremely successful and one of 3 people that signed $1 million contracts. I'm not saying he hasn't made a name for himself. I'm saying like when it comes to like breaking through on the winner's circle and constantly winning and proving that you belong in the top 5 conversation hasn't happened. Because Heimberg, we're all waiting for Heimberg to break through, and then he wins however many last year, and then he just wins now, and he's winning again. Eagle, there was that major drought, and everybody was waiting for the major drought to be answered, and then he won Euro Open, and he's starting to win other tournaments. So it's like now he's kind of breaking through that, and we're waiting for more majors to come for Eagle. And Drew Gibson, we're still waiting for him to show that he can be a consistent threat to win any given tournaments, and I don't think that's been proven quite yet.
I think it's a good start though. Like, coming into the season, ending in 4th, that's a solid finish for the first tournament of the year. And somebody who's, I feel like, not getting a lot of hype lately for his finishing at Las Vegas was Kyle Klein. Like, Kyle Klein sneakily got tied 4th with Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he
beating
got
out
no
the other
coverage
two
at all. He had none. I didn't even know he got tied for 4th.
But that's kind of my point too, right? With Klein, like, the reason he doesn't get a lot of coverage isn't because people, like, you look at last year, he was a constant top 10 finisher, but somebody of that caliber, people aren't wanting to be 4th. They want to see him on lead card. They want to see him battling for first. They want to see him win. And when he's not doing that, ultimately the expectations that are going on behind him starts to be a little bit like diminished. And then you see somebody like, now excitement gets happened with Barella because here's a breakthrough and here's the possibility that he has a big year. Oh, here's Ezra Aderhold finishing strong again at Vegas. Maybe he'll have a strong year because there's still excitement at the possibilities for them. But Drew Gibson getting 4th, I feel like there's less excitement because, hey, he started winning last year and he didn't really follow it up with another win. So it's like this year he's starting 3 spots back. Does that going to equate to a better season when he's disappointed that expectation for 4 years? Is kind of my point. And Barella being able to choose that for himself of how he wants to approach the season and see how it's going to play out, because there is excitement for Barella still being so young, finishing college, getting on tour. He won an A tier earlier this year with Discraft. He made lead card with Discraft. Now people want to see him be successful. Is he going to rise to that challenge or is he going to crumble?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he falls victim to the head game far too often when we have other pros out there who can shake off things a lot easier than AB. And I feel like that's what's holding him back from that breakthrough is the head game. I mean, I feel like when that spotter, when AB hit
the Bushnell rangefinder, that's not spotter. It wasn't a spotter. He was a Bushnell rangefinder.
Oh, well, the Bushnell rangefinder person, getting hit and then it going out of bounds, or in, I guess, be
bunker.
Out of bounds.
Went to a bunker.
Bunker golf. And I feel like that set him back. I feel like he got pissed off, and I think he had a hard time getting out of that.
Yeah, how do you recover from that? I don't know if I could. Kind of like Kevin Jones. Like, if you look at it at Portland Open, when he took that, he could have still won after that, like roll away and that score. But it's so hard to mentally recover from that. That you have to do it in 4 holes. Barella had to do it in literally the next hole to get right back on, and sometimes you just can't. That was definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, it was. And then it happened to, who was it? It was Kat.
It was Katrina, and it was the same dude. He was beside the cart.
Yeah.
Bushnell man is not very lucky when it comes to being out of bounds.
I feel bad for him, though, because, like, they gave him the job to look down that rangefinder, and, like, you should be more aware where the lines are and get out of the way. He was just looking at the wrong time.
But what do you hear every tournament? Like, every time somebody like Barella crushes it and the cameraman turns, Nate Sexton's like, it's a crush when the cameraman turns, which means the cameraman's usually standing out of the range of mere like 90%, 99% of people that are there. And so this guy's standing by the cameraman, and like, so he's thinking like, what, I should be fine because most people can't reach this cameraman, because everything that we've heard before is what? Oh, when he turns around, it's an absolute crush. And so it's like, by the time it was for like, how do you react to a flat object? Let me see. How do you react to a flat object flying at you 70 miles per hour while you're looking down the rangefinder? It's like, you just hope to get hit. When what was it, hole 17, Barella and Eagle blasted the audience.
Mm-hmm.
You just stand there and hope you don't get smacked. You're not going to be like, all right, guys, dodge, because it's coming at you 70 miles per hour. And in a split second, you hope you can dodge. And you've seen it, right? You've seen it on coverage where people are like, oh, and they dodge it. But when you're looking down a Bushnell, you just hope to not get hit and hope that reaction's not severe if you do get hit, right? Because if it would have been a foot to the left, he's in bounds, and then he might be able to recover because he can still maybe score on that par 4 because he's so far up there. But you just kind of like, sometimes you're going to take your lumps because there's nothing I can do, so I feel for the guy. But
and who knows, like maybe he was like, maybe Bush, they told him like, hey, can you get us the distance somewhere else? And he might have not been looking directly at the throwers. Who knows what they had him doing? And like you said, he should have been out of range of most people, but and then Drew Gibson, did you see what Drew Gibson did? He's
Let me see,
selling
right?
hoodies.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Like, oh man, like the dude's got it tough enough. You don't have to do that to him. That's just
Yeah, I mean, it's a brutal thing to do, but it's also like in honor of AB, and it's just kind of a funny thing to monetize for sure.
This is the whole thing though, like the whole idea of getting robbed. You're peppering a disc out there and you smack somebody, especially when the rules say these guys are to be treated like trees. So if you act like he's a tree there, nobody's gonna get mad if they smack the tree and go into the hazard. And you brought it into play when you threw. Just like, there's the random bushes or the random shrubs all the way down the fairway. Like, there's a possibility of you hitting something out there. And if you look at it as that, I don't think anybody would be like, oh my God, Barella got robbed. He hit the tree, landed in the hazard. Because that happened all tournament when you see people like, oh, they roll out of bounds. That's unfortunate. They got robbed. Like, you're not saying that. And, so.
That's like referees in football. Like if you're playing an NFL game and you throw a pass and it hits a ref, if it plays off him, plays off him. But if it hits the ground, it's done.
Exactly. Like, that's all sports, right? Refs are part of
even
the field.
Baseball, if it goes off the umpire, it's a live ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like some games too.
Did you see the response from
the TD?
Yeah.
The TD was not happy.
What did he say? Like, so Drew Gibson is marketing a hoodie, making fun of one of our amazing volunteers, Colin. No one knew his name till now.
Colin Hayden, CH Sports.
Yeah, right? Colin, who was just doing what the DG PT asked him to do. Oh
just
man,
throwing one of our sponsors under the bus.
Yeah, right. He goes on saying that Drew Gibson is just trying to monetize it basically, and he's asking everyone to blow up Drew Gibson, and so Drew retweets it, and it's like that. This is harassment if you're asking everyone to just come attack me. And I believe this is the TD of the tournament, and so I get where everyone's coming from. I see both sides of the coin. Like, I see why Drew thinks it's funny. Friendly banter with AB saying I'm gonna make a shirt say 4. It's not really saying anything about that guy except he was the one that did it. And I see this person saying, well, you're just blasting a picture of one of our awesome volunteers and just to make money off of it. And so it's like that weird gray line where who's right, what's funny. I think it's all funny, but
it's like the volunteer page too. So it's not like the guy's like using his platform to push it out there. The volunteer page probably has all of the volunteers. And granted, I don't think you should try to rally and bring your pitchforks and everything out there. But it's like, he's asking for the volunteers to support one of their own for an unfortunate example while somebody's obviously trying to monetize off of it. And for Drew Gibson to be like, oh, I meant no harm to the kid with the city. It literally says 4. It's like, no, you meant harm because you used the image. You used the image of the person.
A picture of the kid looking dejected in a bunker.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the mistake though, Scott should not have named him because nobody knows this guy's name. Nobody knows who he is. The moment you name him, there's a person, and then you can get a lot of trolls out there who can figure out who this Colin volunteer was.
Colin Hayden.
Yeah, so exactly. Colin Hayden.
Spread the word. It's Colin Hayden.
I don't think there's
the show. Check out his stuff. Also,
When
he's a dirtbag.
when it comes to Barella, I don't think there's anything like just really unfortunate, right? There's no easy way to kind of identify and pick this apart. But when it comes to the golf cart for Cat,
Whew.
that's
Yeah.
where like clearly we're not bringing people there, so like the gallery's not there. There's a reason why the gallery's not there, because it's probably going to come into play. So who okayed the cart to be there? That's something that
Probably Colin. He was
yeah,
there.
probably
Probably Colin was like, I need to ride out of here.
Colin, like,
they-
that's
where
the
it's
show-
right here.
the show pans over and he's still there. Like, oh man, Colin.
because that was still very much in play on that whole thing. And if you watch all of the holes before that, whoever played that hole, usually somebody is bringing like whatever card. Usually somebody's bringing that area into play. So you should have known to park this cart somewhere else, because it's not a part of the fairway. Like, it was unfortunate with this. It's just literally in a spot that it should not have been, like, ever. And that's where something like I could be more critical of, like, say, that volunteer and the organization that put on that show, because, you know, if you have ropes marking all of the walking paths for all of the gallery, you can take a few minutes to set up ropes to where you can park the golf cart that it shouldn't come into play, you know. And granted, there's going to be times where, like, Drew Gibson was at round one, where it was like hole 18, he blasted the fence and he went past the fence and went past the audience, and he was at the vendor's booth with his disc. Like, that happens. That's unfortunate. Nothing, the cart being there would not have made a play, but on a very specific fairway where out of bounds comes in so quickly on that green, making sure that that cart had a marked path to where to park wouldn't have been much effort. And I'm sure that's going to be changed moving forward, obviously, because you can't let it happen again, because it's just a terrible look. But for the start of the season to have...
That was a crush. Like, that had so much potential of being parked the way it was coming in, the angle it was for that skip off the pavement. Like, I mean, if Cat would have lost, it would have been a lot bigger of a deal.
Yeah, but that's the low-hanging fruit, right? If Cat would have lost and you jump straight to the cart and don't jump to, like, oh, hey, you three-putted here. Oh, hey, you tried to lay up and landed on the green here. And that's just people trying to take the low-hanging fruit about why they crumbled. Like, you know, Kevin Jones, for example. A lot of people were trying to jump on, like, Kevin Jones losing. But it's like, here's somebody on the top of the level competition who chose to play safe for 8 holes like he had the lead. And you had a beast of a Heimberg who was attacking since hole 1. And so it's like, I can't fault Heimberg or Kevin Jones for losing the way he did, because that's how he chose to play his final stretch, you know. And so being able to kind of give voice to some of these things, that there is other impacts outside of these cards that impacted the results of all of this tournament. Like, same thing with Barilla. Like, when you're going to try to throw as far as he can constantly, and you can't control 100% of the flight, sometimes you got to realize, like, some of these things that are going to be unfortunate are going to come into play. And that was the choice you made by choosing this throw, because Sexton's proven it over and over again that you don't have to throw 800 feet, 700 feet, go for the eagle to win these tournaments. Like, Sexton was a LVC winner 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's like, so it's been proven that you don't need that. So he made that choice for himself. So anyways, so, like, I don't ever fault anybody in the middle of competition, like Eagle McMahon, for example. Like, him and Barella's round were very similar on that final day, almost like mirroring each other shot for shot. And when Barella hit that cameraman was the only kind of difference, but then you still see hole 17, they both turn it over and bring the audience into play. Like, there's just so many factors that are going on that you can't, like, it's so easy to blame one, but there's 4 days, 18 holes, and just countless choices being, like, micro decisions being made leading to that result. Like, Eagle, like, I go back to the hole 1. Eagle and Heimberg land almost identical spots away from the basket. Eagle chooses to lay up and be safe. Heimberg runs his putt, bangs it. And that already was a conscious choice about how they're going to attack this final round. Heimberg just kept attacking, hitting putts. Every time Eagle laid up, Heimberg was hitting a putt. When it became safe, like, KJ's playing safe, there was like 3 holes where Heimberg got the birdie on the final like 8?
Mm-hmm.
Final 7, sorry. Final 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 8. Yeah, I was right. Final 8 holes. There was 3 holes where Heimberg got the birdie and Kevin Jones didn't even go for it. Like hole 17, Heimberg ties it up. Heimberg is 45 feet away, 50 feet away, which is within his range. Kevin Jones sees that, and what does Kevin Jones do? He throws mid-range. Okay,
Yeah.
so you like, and granted, Heimberg didn't hit that putt, but Heimberg's showing that he's going for things. So you choose to be safe. Hole 18 comes by. Heimberg, plays to a miss, left it way too straight, but had the distance to cross. KJ saw that, and instead of being like, let me secure a par, he does like a little half-committed, like safe shot, which drops out of the air, puts him in a position. Because everyone, even that second shot, like the announcers are like, oh, you never see that happen. That should have cut rolled out of bounds, and you never saw that happen. And cut rolls back, which gave him a chance to throw in. Like, there's so many little things on that final 18 or that hole 18 that could have went like just a different way for KJ. There wasn't a lot for Heimberg that could have went differently.
Yeah. But KJ, like on that final shot, to tie it up or put the pressure on Heimberg, it's like hitting top of basket, like from that far away.
Oh, that was
like,
huge. I loved it.
I mean, that alone was.
I was
like,
laughing at the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it shows that Kevin Jones isn't the B tier pro that Prodigy thinks they have. He's A tier.
No, you're absolutely right. He definitely belongs up there, but like that moment, like I don't know. I was kind of laughing at the what is it, the DGA live commercials where they're watching behind their phone. They're like, oh, so-and-so has it lined up. And they're like, oh, like it's a commercial because they're like trying to hype the live experience. And I was like, I don't know who the hell watches live disc golf. And they're like, it's round 3. Barella's setting up. He hits his putt. Let's go. Like, and so I was kind of laughing at that corniness. But then here we are to hole 18. And you watch KJ line up his like throw in to try to save par and hits basket, and it's just like, oh my god, that was an exciting moment. And granted, I'm not like cheering uncontrollably, about to wreck my car or anything. It's just in that moment, it was like I can see the commercial there, but that's like one moment.
Yeah, I'm a bit opposite of that because I am somebody who gets really into the disc golf live feed. And I'll be like having it up on work, and I'll be yelling, like I get into it.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
I love it. I am one of those guys. I get into it. When I see a good shot.
I did watch it with my students last year.
You're
probably up on the screen on the projector. We watched it.
You're probably very vocal lover.
Very vocal lover.
Come on now.
Just all on like Paul Rudd.
I do not need to hear this.
Yeah, right. We can do a Jammers After Dark. We'll do it at midnight.
Jammers After Dark featuring Lurch in his head. But
now, wait,
sorry, Cody. Lurch is the TSA team captain. He was on our podcast last week. I know you weren't sure of who he was, so I thought I'd remind you.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Lurch is the guy that said he didn't want to pick me for the team. He said no.
Yeah, because you weren't his friend.
Oh, hot taken. Now, I wanted to go back to devil's advocate about the cart on a cart path. It's OB.
Yeah, but the cart path is in play on the fairway. So, like, no matter what it is, like, yes, it's out of bounds, but it still brings into play of, like, skip shots. There's a lot of things that were brought into play, especially on that green, on that cart path in particular.
But do you think she saw the cart before she threw?
Oh, I think that's irrelevant. Like, I mean...
Mm-hmm.
But wait, what if we're throwing devil's advocate here? What if we're throwing something and something's out of bounds and it was a tree or something? Are you going to blame the tree? Because if I saw it before I threw, it's a golf cart on a cart path. I'm not saying it wasn't a bad break and it's a drive.
It was still like probably not their intended line. But also that's like when you see all of that, you take into account everything. Tree being one of them. But that wasn't a tree. That was a foreign object. Whereas, like, the argument with the tree, with the cameraman and the Bushnell guy is because they were purposely placed there. So that was supposed to be there. This cart wasn't there because it wasn't there before. and it wasn't
I'm
there
saying, was
after.
it there during her drive? Because
Oh, I'm
it's
saying,
not
like,
like it just pulled up in her drive and was like, "We're gonna park here and f her up," and then
No, it was
drove
there in her
away.
drive,
Like
and she probably
reversing to
saw the
like aim it
cart.
just right for it.
Yeah,
But-
they're just moving into it. If they
Yeah.
actually drove into her disc, that'd be more funny. But what if it did skip off that and it didn't come back in bounds?
Yeah, I mean, those are all factors, but I'm somebody that doesn't like to argue hypotheticals that didn't happen.
Well,
I like
here's
to argue what was
You're
there.
arguing a hypothetical that didn't happen by arguing because it didn't happen. It hit the cart and dropped. Maybe
And so, yeah, maybe.
saying.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We'd be having
Maybe
a very
Colin
similar
would have grabbed the
conversation.
disc and yeeted it out of bounds himself.
Yeah,
He's
who was
distraught.
it? Was that Henna that almost hit the ghost, or the ghost? The
I was
the
like
goose?
a ghost. We have spectral beings out on the course now.
Yes, we do.
But who was it? Was it Henna that almost hit it? Hit the goose?
Oh, I think the goose did get hit though.
I think a goose did get hit.
There was a
Maybe
goose that got
maybe
hit.
that goose is now a ghost. Maybe it's a ghost of a goose that was hit.
Like, didn't Joe Gibson hit a goose? I'm talking about the one that kind of flew through the air with the FPO and just barely dodged the disc.
I cannot remember who that was. I apologize.
And well, we'll just say the FPO player that almost hit the goose. Like, the
Okay.
point to that is like, that's an unlucky circumstance that ultimately they would have had to deal with. They would have had to play from where that disc lied and been ununfortunate. The cart,
So
you're right. There was
I'm
a
selling a hoodie of a goose.
Goose
Goose gate.
gate.
Goose gate. Like, goose was in the way.
But
I
yeah,
do want a
that's-
stamp with like a goose on there with just a disc drilling a waterfowl. Just
It'd probably be like an
destroying it.
Aaron Gossett stamp.
That's a moneymaker, Paige. That is the stuff we need you for. Discraft, are you listening? Pay
Aaron
attention.
Gossage, are you listening? Is anyone listening to our podcast?
I wish someone right now just Facebook user. No. Oh, okay.
Facebook user, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Hey, but we got
I'm
a yes.
tuning
But anyways, yeah. So I know that's a lot of what people, when they think about Vegas, talked about or wanted to talk about. But for me, there was a bigger thing that happened on day 2 than any of this, which is first Pro Tour of the year. The first lead card of the year had all new manufacturer sponsors and fresh bags. And every year somebody signs, there's going to be this learning period for these discs. But for the very first one, all new bag sponsors, you had Scott Withers with Team Clash. You had James Proctor with Thought Space Athletics. You had Barella with Discraft. And who am I missing?
Who was the other one second round?
Well, it's going to bug me.
It was Proctor, Withers, AB, and now
Wow,
I forgot. And I just watched it.
Bringing up second round, you don't even know.
It wasn't Simon. No, not Simon.
Let's see. It would
No,
have
it was
been
Simon. It was Simon.
No, it would have been
No, it was Simon with MVP.
oh, yeah, it was.
Simone.
It was. Yeah.
So I was right, even though I thought I was wrong.
No, you're
And
still
so,
wrong.
but like that, like we've never had that before. It just happened this weekend. Like, that's a huge moment in disc golf right there, because there's a lot of hesitancy for new players and also a lot of fandom where it's like, oh, Simon's leaving Discmania. Is he going to be viable with MVP? And they're like, oh, he's a professional thrower. He'll be fine throwing anything. And they're like, no, he's still that first run PD for 10 years. He's not going to be okay. And so I think
He
with a
could throw
moment like
garbage can and be fine.
But I think there's moments like these throughout sports history where it's important to take note and how it plays like repercussions, because a lot of people were racing for open bag because they can throw anything. Well, now they're showing like the viability of just switching sponsors and being okay and being successful, because like we talked about before, plastic is just that good right now that it's hard to be like Innova's the only one that's crafting superior discs, and it's not. But I do laugh, or I don't laugh, but like Scott Withers went right back to the Cloudbreaker 1, went right back to P2s. I thought that was awesome to see. So you do have something to be said about some of these old traditional discs being still really good and viable when you can choose anything in the world, and they choose these things.
But is that
Destroyers?
what's comfortable for him? Because he had success with P2s and Cloudbreaker 1s, but that doesn't mean that Simon couldn't have success with an Octane or Tangent or,
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's comfortability factor on it. Yeah, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying there's something to be said. Like, new plastic is good. My point is, old plastic still is good and viable and worth exploring.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. All for it.
It was henna. I was right. Boom.
What?
Boom.
I thought someone said Paul actually hit a goose. AJ said
No,
Paul.
Henna's the one.
Henna was the
Yeah.
FPO where they threw, and then it was like the disc was here and the goose was like right behind it.
Like Randy Johnson? Remember that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Randy
No.
Johnson, it's the MLB pitcher that he threw a pitch and a bird came through and the ball and the bird met and the bird exploded. Mid-pitch.
It was almost that, but the bird dodged it. But yeah. So it was Paul that hit the goose and Henna the one that missed. Okay.
Duck disc goose. I mean, come on. There's so many things these people could be making stamps of.
But there was a hot take in one of the groups that was saying stamps are ruining disc golf.
You almost said it. You wanted to say it.
Oh, of course I wanted to say it.
Now you're doing a hot take. You're trying to.
People are wild. People are wild.
People are wild. That's not a hot take. That's just a joke.
Yeah. Now Paige. Now he's on Team TSA. He's just getting all hurt. He's like, no, you don't talk my stamps down.
Oh, it doesn't have to be because of TSA. It's just art in general is such a big part, I feel, of disc golf now, and it's an important part.
Well, like that's the thing, like
in life.
Yeah, and that's a thing. That's why I have shelves of discs. That's why, like stamps are a part of that, but also the economy of like disc golf relies on that, because if everything's stock, then all of a sudden Paul Macbeth isn't getting, Tour Series this and that to take care of it. You don't have, Chris Nelson who gets the J coming out. You don't get him, getting supported because they're all just stock runs and everybody has access to that. And so it's like, it's a great way to support people. But Cody looks like he's about to blow a fuse, so I'll pause here. And
no, but did you hear the commercials that they had? Like they had all the pro players like, oh yeah, my favorite disc to throw is the stock blend, blah blah blah. That like more than one or two people were like, when they did the commercials between, it's like, yeah, my favorite disc so far has been the stock zone. So either Discraft has a bunch of stock crap they need to move, or something, because a couple players were like, yeah, my favorite disc is the stock stamp, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's going on?
But then that's also like, they still have to sell discs for their manufacturer. So like, how much of that's like, it's on a commercial. So obviously they're being paid and forced to be there. Like when Jomez started out and they're all gambling, I don't really sit here and believe that Alton Harris is laying down a sick CAD and poker. Like sometimes they're paid to be there and paid to say these things. Like I'm pretty sure stock stamp discs are at an all-time low in sales, because
that's what I'm saying. So they're trying to push them. So they're getting their pros to say like, hey, stock stamps are the best stamps. Yeah. Like the pros aren't even getting to push their own Tour Series stuff. Their company wants them to push their stock stuff.
But then like, what are we excited about right now at Innova? Watching Girthy and Heimberg throw the fucking Juggernaut. That is a Halo. That's not going to be a stock disc. And it's a brand new one. That's what moves discs.
They're already selling for like $100 on Facebook.
Exactly. I don't get excited about
the Zone OS.
Yeah, the Zone OS.
Oh, Zone OS. Okay.
Yeah, so like Juggernaut is a new disc. Zone OS is a new disc that everyone's excited about. That's what moves the needle, and that's what sells. And I think Discmania figured that out early, and now, they're like falling victim to their own publicity that got them in their own hype. That got him, because it's like they used to hype up things like, Nate Perkins, Night Strike 1, everyone buy this, limited to plastic, and everyone would buy it. But now all of a sudden, they're like, hey, baseline stock S-line PDs, who's gonna buy it? And everyone's just like, why do I want stock when there's Lone Hell 3s on there? We know there's gonna be a PD like Nordic Phenom 2 coming out. Like, why buy this when I could buy that? And
is there a Nordic Phenom 2 coming out?
There has to be.
There probably is, because they like Antilla deserves to be supported still on tour.
Yep.
True.
He is a big part of it. He is huge in Europe, and he's made a big splash last year. I'm excited for when he comes back.
Yeah.
I heard the Nordic Phenoms kind of flew like the old pinned S runs, right?
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Glidey, not too. I mean, still stability, but not. They had some flip to them.
Yep. And so
Neither-
And a
neither
Zone
of you
OS.
from
What the
them?
heck is a Zone OS? Like,
it's an overstable zone.
okay, thanks, Copernicus. You moron. I
My
meant like,
guess is
gosh.
my guess it's kind of filling like funny enough, I think it stems from Scott Withers partially.
Because of his
because
gator.
Scott, yeah, like Scott Withers last year was looking for something more overstable than a zone, but not as fast as a Quake, and they couldn't really fill that slot. And you know,
Well, I bet
the
you
Gator
Barella can probably needs some stability in that.
exactly.
spot.
And so, like, I
Mhm.
think that's kind of where like it stems from, at least from my perspective as a fan, and like seeing that, and then they kind of molded it. They saw the success of the Captain's Raptor, that it could be ridiculously overstable, and people still want to buy it and have a use for it. And they need a Justice, they need a Ursus, they need a Gator in their lineup, and Zone OS made sense rather than being like, you know, here's a new mold. It's the, I don't know, whatever.
The
So
Malta, whatever the heck that is.
exactly.
They should have just
Malta?
bought Terminal Velocity, a buyout, a hostile takeover of Terminal Velocity.
For the
Zach
Ursus.
Lindell, they're coming for you.
Have
Can
you
we
ever
get
felt a
the-
Malta?
Yeah, it's like
That's a
it's
big-ass
kind of like
bead.
a Neo method, like the one.
That's
I felt
exactly what I
like-
was going to say. It's very
It's a method.
method-like.
But doesn't it have a big ass bead on it?
It does have a big ass
does it?
speed.
Yeah, a method has
Yeah.
one too.
The
I feel
method has a
No,
big
no.
ass speed as well.
What? No, it does not.
You have a rack of disc, you jabron.
How do you
Aren't
not
you
know
the bin
methods have
page admin?
beads?
You used
Yeah,
to
there's a
sell
re-
these on stamps. I'm
There's-
pretty sure.
I understand, but I just haven't.
I don't think
never-
you do
never-
understand,
I
Joshua.
never made the bag. I don't
Look,
have to know.
there it is.
remember
Look.
every fi-
Look, I got it. That's
No,
a big ass
no.
bead,
Fake news.
and that's a method.
If you want something stupid overstable, you put beads on them. They're just beads. A Justice has a bead. An Ursus has a bead. A Malta has a bead. If this Zone OS has a bead, I don't want to touch it because beads are trash for the most part. I'm not a big bead fan.
I like beads.
Oh, I mean, this does have a bead. This method, but not as big as the Malta.
Do you
This
have
is
a Malta?
This is just
Do
a
you have a
bead.
Malta? Find a Malta and compare them.
I do have one. You two talk away while I look for it.
It's just a big ass bead.
Nobody
The
wants to
Malta
hear
was
us
supposed to
talk.
be like a Rock 3, and so like it's gonna have a bead.
Man, the Rock 3s I threw were never that overstable, honestly.
They're overstable. They're just not torque resistant, and I think a lot of people they don't understand the difference of overstability and torque. Like when Macbeth steps up and says the Luna is overstable, I'm likely to believe him as a creator of the Luna. And when he throws it, you see it come back. But what the Luna isn't is torque resistant. So if you put any type of torque in it, it just poof and turns on you. And then you're like, well, why doesn't mine fly like it? It's supposed to be overstable. People grab a zone and they're like, oh, this is overstable. But because it happens to be torque resistant, they just associate like overstability with that. And so
What makes the disc torque resistant? I mean,
I
I
don't
know what you're
yeah.
saying, but I wonder what's like. How do they build that into a disc shape?
I
Josh,
honestly don't know, because like the Praxis, like the way I used to throw wasn't torque resistant, but the way I'm throwing now, it's definitely overstable.
Hmm.
Maybe it's true stability. It's not overstable. It kind of holds any line and then slowly drifts, but still. But
Well,
like
that's
I
like
used to,
saying is something that's a 0-0. Is that stable?
yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be like that's
Technically-
the Mako, which is
technically
flippy. It
Yeah.
just has like
Well,
no turn.
A Mindbender. A Mindbender is 0-0. A Mako 3 is 0-0.
Yeah, they're not torque resistant, but they're sure as heck stable, and they like are true to those numbers. Like my Mindbender is so straight when I throw it correctly, but the moment I put any type of torque, and then it's a boo.
I can forehand mine pretty well.
Yeah, that's off angle torque. That's a whole different conversation.
Ooh, off angle. Oat? We're gonna
Oats?
get crazy in here. We're gonna drop some
We're talking about oats,
nouns.
but
Some
and I think that's just
synonyms.
that's the way people like, because you look at like the construct, the Maria Oliva construct. I'm in love with it right now. The thing isn't very torque resistant, but it also has some overstability to it. So when I throw it at 80%, I can maybe get some drift out of it and know that's always going to come back. But if I hit it just right, I know it's going to hold that kind of like pan. the whole way, but the stability in it keeps it from turning and burning, like maybe the aura construct. And so to me, it's slightly torque resistant, but definitely overstable in what it's supposed to be, the flight. And that's why I like it, because I can kind of work with that. And so I guess my challenge here, like somebody just wrote in chat, you want to put that up?
This one right here.
Like is neutral, which can be torque resistant but not overstable. And I think that's a good clarification to have as well. And it's just, I think a lot of people give, I guess I've been on record for this for a long time. People give too much value to numbers, but when you try to understand the numbers, it's something exactly what's written here, which is that neutrality, which is 0-0, which is like, okay, it's supposed to have no turn and no fade. But that's like thrown correctly, I guess, for lack of better words, because there's a lot of people that just like when people say something like is understable, this is an understable run of this disc, and they're forcing it on off-angle torque on Anheuser and being like, why didn't it come back? That's so flippy. It's like, no, it's not flippy. It's a bad angle, off-angle torque, and a full rip in Anheuser. Like, most discs aren't going to come back that way, which is why, the big distance line in pros, they need such overstable discs, is because that's their max flight, where it's like finally starting to come back and they can experience that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I couldn't find a Malta for you, Cody. It's in there.
Just log off, Josh. Just log off. You're done.
I did find one. I did find one thing that you might like, though. There we go.
Whoa, whoa, Josh.
Oh, you got me with that one. But back to Vegas, guys. Did one of you two keep or tally up the score?
No, not yet. I'm gonna post it on the.
I mean, who
Facebook
won?
Page.
Well, I mean, Cat. So I had Cat on my team.
I think I got.
You got nothing, Josh.
I know.
Yeah, middle finger. Go back to where you came from.
Yeah. I mean,
I know I didn't have Ricky there, which hurt, and I didn't have Paige Pierce there, that hurt.
Weren't you the one that was like, Cody, you picked a team of people that are never going to be at events? And look what happened. Josh, show him what you got for Paige. Show Paige what you have for him.
Hey, well, Josh is trying to count. We're teammates.
Are the Mo ones more?
Yes.
Overstable?
Yeah.
What? I heard they were flippier. All right.
Auras are so flippy. Mine is like Heiser to woo.
My aura animus like flips and burns. It's quite weird.
Yeah, once it gets beat in, that's what they do.
It's not even that beat in.
Well, you're just too strong, Daddy.
I keep trying to bring us back to Vegas, guys.
No, Josh is trying to count, and it's over 5, so Josh is too busy. He's like, I can't. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, my girl Missy got second. That's what I care about. She got second place.
Do you need me to make another Google form for you? What do you need me to do?
No, I don't need a Google form. What I do need is to recognize that Katrina Allen is going to be a driving force this season. I can see it. It's going to happen.
Isn't she a driving force every season? That's like,
I mean, okay.
The sun is gonna be a swirling vortex of fire.
No, that's not necessarily true, because there's more competition now. But I still feel like Katrina Allen is going to hold it. She's going to hold her position.
Yeah,
there's a lot of young players coming in.
Not be a driving force. She's still top 3 FPO. She's never fallen off of that. And she's
every year it can change. Every year can change.
Yeah, but you're stating the obvious. Like, hey, you know
what?
Paul McBeth might not have been top 3, but he's still going to be a driving force this year. Like, of course, Paul McBeth is. He hasn't shown.
There's a reason that YouTube made the list.
What list? Your little shit list? Like,
what?
Little freaking. All right, Paige. We'll see if you are laughing in 20 years.
I'll be dead by then.
People, I'm going to slap.
I'm across the country. If you want to,
I know, but I'm gonna see.
If you drive all the way here, I'll let you slap me. I don't even care. I won't stop you. Slap
we do
away.
Need to make it out. We do need to do like a live on site with the 3 of us.
We're just meet in the Midwest. Who do we know in the Midwest?
If you ever work up the courage to slap me, I will take it wholeheartedly because
No,
I
too
probably
nice.
have earned that 10 times over, but
Oh, for
there's not a
sure.
lot of
I'll pay you to slap him.
there's like not a lot of people that are brave enough to slap me. So Josh, if you ever do that, I will absorb it and
Absorb it. Turn
I
into
will
Wait, so
love.
are you
gladly
going to
move on.
retaliate with a slap back, or he gets one free slap?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I
if he
heard
works with the
free.
courage to slap me, he will have a free slap, and I will not retaliate.
Then slap him, Josh. Next time you play, I'm
That's what
talking,
I hear.
make it look like those Russian hand slapping
sitting-
competitions. Just like
Right.
line it up, put some baby powder on,
Oh.
and just see if you
I'm
can
gonna-
knock him
I'm
out.
just gonna
Let's
go
engage
live.
chat a little bit. Let's engage chat a little bit. There's a very hot take.
We're
from Facebook
talking about
user.
slapping Paige Hurtado. There's nothing in the chat that's better than this. I want to
It's,
slap your face off.
It's Hurtado, not Hurtado, you lazy ass
Hurtado.
clone.
Say Canada.
Say potato.
Potato? Tomato,
Oh, yeah.
tomato, and just sing a
Canada?
song here.
Canada?
All right, where's his hot take at? Where's his hot take?
It's the
Alex
the,
V, that's a hot take.
No, the one above it.
I bet Paul wins a tournament this year. That's
Yeah.
not that hot of a take.
That's
Paul's-
as hot as Josh's take about Katrina being a driving
Oh,
force.
shut the fuck! Oh my
Hey,
god!
Katrina
Lola.
Allen's going to throw a frisbee this year. No. Hot
God,
take.
You know what?
She's going to play for DGA. Hot take.
I don't even know why I come here anymore.
Calvin
you
Heimberg
pulled it
might win
up.
one
You pulled
tournament
it
this
up,
year.
too.
Hot take.
I did. Pull
Oh,
it up.
thank you, Facebook user. I needed that laugh.
You know, no, stop laughing.
Look at that. They're laughing at
bullshit.
you, Josh.
You know what? I don't care. I don't
It's
care.
Josh
right,
is
we're
just
gonna-
going to turn off Facebook chat. He's going to
No,
drop.
I got a free slap. I'm gonna go live on Jammers in the
Oh.
Rough for a split second. Just go live on my phone, slap Paige with some baby powder, and then end live.
With
It's gonna be
baby
good.
powder.
That'd be wonderful. Just get
I'm
like
gonna,
a
I'm gonna
chalk
Nico.
bag.
I'm gonna get just like Nico, just we're covered.
No,
in it.
like Gannon Burr. Just powder that thing up and just dump truck him in the face. What were we talking about? We really did go off the rails there for a little bit.
Yeah, we did. We're supposed
Now
to be
I'm
talking about
using a chalk
Vegas.
bag.
We talked a lot about MPO and kind of how it shook down and the excitement. FPO was a tough watch this year, and I think I wanted to make note like commentary was kind of like hit or miss from time to time, which is I think always a tough spot with FPO, especially when you have like good commentary come MPO, and then the putting. I think it's tough. Like I try to give like Evelina benefit of the doubt because I know they've practiced. Because especially when because it's so like close to being like all of last year, so it's easy to jump on Evelina. And then you watch Paul Macbeth step up to circle one, day one, miss that putt. You watch all of the people in lead card miss circle one putt. So then I give them benefit of the doubt of being like, okay, it's not Evelina. It's just universal, but man, it's probably one of the toughest tournaments to watch putting wise. And I didn't realize,
like at that point, it's got to be all mental because she's from like me to this door and she's like airmailing it.
Yeah, but it's not just my point is like it's just not Evelina though. It was everybody. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, I didn't see so many missed putts.
But I just feel like Evelina had it the worst.
Oh, Evelina did. But I think it's also like magnified because not only was it the worst, but it's magnified because you have an entire last year of it, right? Like, so it just starts to be magnified more. Like if you have like when Eagle was melting down, when it led to him breaking his knuckle, it's like, oh man, eventually you're just kind of rolling your eyes and being like, okay, cool. Like every time the Castro takes 45 seconds to a minute, you're just like, okay, here we are again. So Evelina for me was that missed putt. And it's just like, oh man, this is hard to watch. My point is just like everybody was tough to watch putting this weekend.
Yeah, no, it was.
But
it was a good, it's a good first tournament. I think FPO and MPO were fun to watch. Everyone had their breakdowns. The MPO had a problem with drives. FPO had a problem with putts. But it was still fun to watch them finally get some live.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like for a golf course, like it wasn't a terrible watch. I think that was something that it was exciting all the way through, like a different lead card every single day. Anyone like even like FPO, you had that big push where I was like, all right, let's go, Ella. Are you gonna do this? Are you gonna do this? And it's like hazard. It's like, okay, Ella's out. Missy Gannon, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? Oh, Missy's out. Oh, Katrina's in. Katrina's out. Katrina's in. It's like that. It was a good wave. I really like this tournament.
Is that Driving Force from Katrina? What can I
Oh
say?
yeah.
All right, we should move on. We're getting top of the hour. We should move on to our final thoughts here.
Oh, Josh keeping us honest. So Cody, start us off.
I'm still just thinking about slapping you upside your face, but
I mean, we got
you
people
don't get a
paid.
freebie, Cody. You don't
no,
get a freebie.
I just want to watch it. I just want to see it. Just want to see it. Hot take. Well, no, I'm not hot taking. My take of the night, even with the wind, some of the poor play, some of the hits by spectators and carts, disc golf is back, people. How exciting is that? Paige Hurtado is just taking off his headphones. He can't hear me, so I'm just going to talk trash about him. He's just a terrible person. That's my hot take for the night.
That's your hot take. That Paige is a terrible person. All right.
Oh, Paige is back. He's a wonderful
All right, Josh,
man.
go ahead.
He throws very well.
Oh no, I heard everything. I just couldn't stomach it, so I had to like mute it all.
Man, I don't you didn't even listen to my final thoughts about being excited that disc golf is back. Even with all the poor things, we should be excited that disc golf is back.
It's true.
You're not a lover of the game, Paige. You're just a hater of Cody.
Oh, absolutely. I am number one fan of Josh and number one enemy of Cody. That's why we work.
Asked me to do this podcast. What is happening here? I still have the Facebook message. Join me, friend.
Join me in our excursion to Jammers in the Rough.
Excursion.
Rough.
Rough. You like type it 4 times. Rough. Enter. Rough. Enter. Rough.
Go ahead, Josh. What are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, first I want to say I love that we all 3 of us have different opinions and flick each other's shit and still hug at the end of the day. That's why I love you 2 very much. And I love bullshitting with you guys on this podcast. With that said though, last week when we had the TSA captains on, we see Jerry Ann and Alex and Lurch want to do a giveaway of the new disc. Say it, Paige. Coalesce. Is it Coalesce?
Coalesce? I thought it was the construct. It was the.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Construct.
You're right. It's a construct. See,
Coalesce sounds like medicine for like your bowels. I'm gonna have some Coalesce.
See, I was thinking like it sounds like a Derek Zoolander commercial. Coalesce.
Yeah.
You see him.
So the Maria Oliva construct. There's 2 of them, and the drawing was done earlier. I just want to announce the winners of that. The U.S. winner was Randy Steele. The challenge was to do your best Thomas Gilbert pose, where you hold your disc. Where's this one? You hold your disc like this and get in the little pose. Take a photo of it.
I like
Randy Steele got the U.S. one, so he can reach out to Lurch to get that. It looks like the Canadian winner was Clay Place. Wait, no, was in Clay Place Jones? Is it 3 names? I'm assuming Clay Place Jones. One in Canada, so reach out to Jerry Ann, and she'll be able to get you that disc as well. So congratulations to you 2 on winning that contest. We got a lot of fun pictures were posted with everyone doing their Thomas Gilbert pose. So it's fun to watch.
All right. Well, so for me, I think I've been thinking a lot lately about luck and unluck or bad luck.
Yeah, unluck is not a word. Let's just strike that.
It's now a word.
Unlucky was, but I think bad luck, there's, I don't know, the way I boil it down to, I think a lot of people give a lot of credit to these lucky and unlucky things. And they definitely play a factor in a lot of things. I'm not somebody that says like I don't believe in luck, because that's very real, but I do also believe in choice. And when people like choose to do certain things, they accept the possibilities of some of these things happening, right? So like when a goose flies out of the air and smacks your disc down, that is very unlucky. But when you throw out of bounds and fail to skip in bounds, that's not necessarily unlucky. That's just a bad shot. But I think a lot of people are quick to blame these outside factors for things that happen. And I've been having, like I said, I've been thinking about it a lot. And it's not just like this LVC, because it's happened at Goat Hill where it was like, oh, I'm so unlucky that I rolled away. And it's just like, well, no, maybe it's a good thing and learn how to land flat. You know, you throw, you putt on severe hyzer and then you catch edge and rolled away. And you're like, why am I so unlucky? It's like, because maybe you were uncommitted on your putt. Maybe you should have learned how to land like a little bit flatter of a disc or whatever, you know. And I think my focus here isn't to say that luck doesn't exist. It's more or less like making sure that you're given rational reasoning and understanding for when these things happen to better yourself as a player. You know, so like I said, if you throw it on hyzer and it rolls away, you knew that was an option when you putted it, because I'm pretty sure everybody has thought about like, okay, this is a death putt. If I miss, I go down the hill. You take the putt, you miss, and it goes down the hill. You're not saying, oh, how lucky I am. You knew that was a factor in that putt. You choose to be uncommitted or overcommit and pull your putt, and now you're all the way down this hill. So call it for what it is, because I think that's going to help you grow as a player more than blaming these outside factors and outside entities. So that's kind of my closing thought of the day.
It was terrible.
Start to realize why you do things and 100% commit to your choice.
Looks like you learn from the best when it comes to disc golfing.
Yeah, and I'm the best.
No. All right, so let's see here.
No, I'm not. It's just, for me, it's just a closing thought, because like a lot of people, especially with LVC, are blaming like, oh, how unlucky was that? Like Varela threw his disc directly at two people. You know, there was a chance
on a cart path.
Yeah,
how unlucky.
There was a chance that he was going to hit those people, and he knew it when he threw it, because he threw it to people. And if he pulled it, he knew those people were still there. That's not unlucky. That's just, you know, an execution of the shot. Sometimes, I always say, like when I'm out there, like sometimes I hit the tree I aim for. Why am I going to be upset at that? I was aiming for that tree and hoping my disc broke or hoping my disc flipped and went around it. But sometimes you square it up.
Are you saying you're a good enough disc golfer you can hit trees on command?
No, I'm just saying sometimes you hit the tree.
It sounds like you're bragging about you can hit trees whenever you want.
That's what it does sound like. But, you know, he can. I've seen it.
So unluck.
So unluck. That's going to be my next shirt. So unluck.
So unluck.
But so for me, it's just like I said, I'm challenging you guys to give legitimate reasons to why these things happen, and owning that accountability is only going to make you better. So with that, we do have an amazing guest for us next week. We talked to him a little bit about him in this podcast, but lead card featured Scott Withers. So Scott Withers is going to join us next Thursday to talk touring, to talk LVZ, to talk anything disc golf related that we can think of throwing at him. So if you guys have any specific questions you want to ask him, please send Josh, myself, or Cody a message so we can get those questions taken care of. The more we plan ahead, obviously, the better the interview goes. There will be some, you know, obviously engagement. We'll have to find some Withers discs to give away.
Gators.
To kind of hide them. Gators.
Did he have a zone?
I think he has his own with resistance discs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I sent you one, Cody.
I was saying, I think the one you sent me is a Withers zone, right?
So maybe you pull that out of one of your boxes, and we can do that for the giveaway this week to help hype up Jammers in the Rough. But we can be talking about this afterwards. So with that, guys, I just wanted to let you know that next week we got a special guest. With that, we want to take a few seconds to highlight our sponsor of the week, which is Soul Crusher. Manny does amazing things for players. He's really for disc golfers. He does his own art. He's making shirts, minis. He custom stamps discs. He has a great working relationship with Discmania. And there's just no other like him. He's an amazing individual who I consider a friend, but he doesn't consider me a friend. So
because you don't know how to say his name. You can't say his name. It's like the never-ending story.
Oh my
say
God.
My name, Paige. Say my name, Bastion.
So with that, guys, I'll see you next week. Let's keep elevating the rough and jamming it in the rough. We'll see you next week, guys.
Don't even. No.